here at RSA. It's beautiful and sunny out in San Francisco. That's why it's amazing. And I ran into my old buddy, Chris Blask. Chris, how are you?
I'm loving life, Anthony. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. It's very nice to see you. It's been a little while. Been watching you floating around the Everglades and stuff for a while. Or kind of northern Florida now.
Yeah, I've been building a pair of solar-powered, Starlink-enabled cyber boats, for the last couple of years, and building them while I'm sailing them between Key West and St. Augustine. It's basically the entire east coast of Florida.
I've been following the saga. It's been fascinating. Riveting.
It's a lot of fun.
Riveting. If you don't know Chris, I don't know how because he's been in this business forever. But Chris Blask is the senior strategist for Cybeats. Did I do that right?
Close.
Pretty close?
Pretty close.
Chief strategist.
That'll work.
Chief senior strategist.
That'll work.
Okay.
Yes.
For Cybeats. And he's been doing a lot of work in this last couple of years in helping pioneer where we're going with SBOM. So tell us a little bit, kind of set up SBOM for those who've been hearing about supply chain problems and really don't understand what you guys are working about. And then give me some new news that you have.
Right. Okay. So SBOM stands for Software Bill of Materials, right? This is the idea that you should know what's inside your software, right? Because nobody writes all of the code anymore. We include a lot of libraries. And I think, as you say, I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I see recurring themes. And this is about inventory. You should know what you have. And it's turned out that we don't really know what software we have. So now we're going through the exercise of putting those systems in place. As a vendor, you may be asked to, or you may want to provide a software bill of materials. As a consumer or a distributor, you're receiving from upstream. You may want to get that bill of materials for a lot of reasons, security being an obvious one.
And things like Log4j. It's a great example, right, of companies scrambling to find out if they were using a bit of code that happened to be problematic, and then nobody knew if they were because it had been around for so long.
Well, and it's funny because Log4j has become the Stuxnet of supply chain.
Right.
Stuxnet, for those of you who don't know that one, that was the OT security, Log4j, where you say, oh, you actually can hack critical infrastructure to cause physical things to happen. And Log4j came along, was it 3-4 years ago now? Basically?
At least, yeah.
Yeah. And Cassie Crossley, who's here at RSA with her new book at Schneider Electric, has been one of the people involved with the things that I've been doing with SBOM. As we see in these waves, you have one organization, sometimes there's one person in one organization. It's a little bit ahead because it's about SBOM time. And so Schneider Electric actually handled Log4j pretty well because they were unusual for companies in the world at that time, able to say pretty quickly, yeah, we know where it is. It's a great example, the demonstration of the value of doing this. Like how many hours, how many expensive person hours do you want to spend every time this comes up? And of course, since then, we've had the XZ, fascinating little hack recently. And. This is going to keep happening. So attackers, those who are looking to exploit things, are going down this path because, we've been closing other holes. Now this is the next open space.
And you don't want to be the company who's telling your customers, we're not sure if we're exposed or not, but we'll try to let you know before the end of the day. It might be tomorrow, might be the end of the week.
It might be the end of the week, might be next month, might be, yeah. And so we're at this spot right now where inventory's got to the point that if you're a software provider, you're going to want to know where you put the code because someone's going to ask you, right? And you'd mentioned, where things are going, right? So those, this is RSA. Right. After decades of doing this particular show, one of the things I love doing is walking around the expo floor. I'll do this tomorrow, and just ask every single vendor, what they think about supply chain or SBOM, and we'll see. A couple of years ago, very few would have had anything to say. My guess is that this year, virtually every single one will have some sort of answer. And a lot of them may be wrong, right? But it's an indication of where we're going.
Are you guys pre-RSA buzzword? Is this the last year before you're up on every booth? And
yeah, no, we
are SBOM enabled.
SBOM enabled, yeah, that's right. Yes, next year the SBOM may be on all the bloody banners, right? But the point is, we've gotten to the point where software bill of materials is something that you're going to have as a consumer, as a producer, whatnot. What intrigues me right now is the next stage. So the Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, has been hosting public-private working groups on SBOM for the last couple of years. And I've been co-leading one of them on sharing. And we just, this year, in fact, just on Friday, just passed, we published the second of two documents. The first one was SBOM sharing roles and considerations, right? So who are the people involved? What are the roles involved? What are the things they need to consider? And in this document, which was the first of the two to come out, we added basically a third actor. So you're not just the author of an SBOM. You're not just the consumer of an SBOM. You might be the distributor. You might be someone in the middle. You might be an ISAC, an Information Sharing and Analysis Center, a CERT, a distributor, a integrator, somewhere in the middle. You didn't write the code, but you're responsible for it. How do you go about making sure that you can get the visibility into the supply chain information from your upstream vendors? How do you make sure that that you're maintaining the trust and integrity and so forth, so that information is getting to the right people, not getting to the wrong people, still intact and
so this is basically going to really operationalize it within an organization.
On scope, right?
On scope,
And, on scale, because I joke about this, but it's true enough. In the first stage, and threat intelligence is very simple. I'm going to create a piece of threat intelligence, a single software bill of material, and I'm going to print it out and fax it to my 3 customers. And it's like, that's great. And if that's the frame we need to talk through things, which has been kind of where we are today, then that'll get everybody in the room. But you start saying, all right, how many pieces of software are related to a single Abrams tank? Yeah, I don't know. How many software bill of materials would be involved in just a single Boeing airframe? And are we really going to produce all of those and deliver them in bulk to the consumer of
Via
those?
fax?
Yes. No. What we're going to do is make them all available in interesting ways. And this is one of these inevitability curve things for me. It's like, this is going to happen. There's nothing on earth is going to stop it. And I think we're in that window of time where today, one of my favorite use cases is if I'm a flight engineer in a National Air Force and I'm looking into a turbofan and I want to know the software that was running on the machine that made this one blade. And the motor is made by Rolls-Royce. The airframe is made by Boeing, right? The part itself was made by a Rolls-Royce subcontractor. I want to know the version of software running on the radial plasma forge that made that blade. Because maybe it's not even security. Maybe there's a bug in a certain version of that code that made it a little too thin, the temperature was too high, metal fatigue, whatever. Right? I want to know. And today I could find out 6 months from now. I can put in the request. We could have investigators and forensic people. Today you'll basically find out in the crash investigation after a plane goes down.
Yeah.
In the future, you'll be able to say, that blade, version 2.1.3 patch level 4 was running on this machine 10 layers down in the supply chain. So we're going to get there. And you can see the major components of how we do that, right? And you mentioned DBOM, the digital bill of materials. I'm biased. I'm one of the authors of that, the innovators or inventors or whatever word we use these days. But we'll have some sort of open source attestation system that allows all of the parties to define how they're going to relate to the next supply chain entity, all the way back. Elephants.
This is quite an endeavor, really.
It is, right? And an inevitability curve is a way to look at things and say, this is going to happen. And the question mark is always, because you can be very definitive about that. Certain things will happen in the future. But it could be 100 years, it could be 1,000 years in the future, someday. For us, alive today and doing things, is that going to happen in the actionable future? And with SBOM as it is, and the need to have supply chain security and the exploits, as you mentioned, Log4j and XC and hold my beer, right? It's just going to go on. We are going to have the driving pressure to figure that out.
Excellent. Where can people go to find out more information about what you're doing?
So Cybeats, the company I work for, is making the SBOM management platform used by a lot of major players in all of this. Cybeats is certainly a good commercial company if you want to get in there and find out how things are done. CISA.gov, slash SBOM, CISA.gov / SBOM. Alan Friedman in the public sector has been leading a fantastic collaborative process going down that path. And dbom.io, the Linux Foundation is hosting the digital bill of materials project. I think you do what I do. Ask the people closest to you if they know about SBOM. If they do, talk to them, because you'll find that you don't have to be in these esoteric little weird groups. Now, most everybody, your boss, your supplier probably knows. So maybe look inside your own supply chain and just ask the question.
Fantastic. Chris, thank you for taking the time out of your busy week here at RSA. Always good to see you, buddy.
Thanks, Anthony. Always fun.